since we are the science of leadership here on this podcast, I always like to share some of the actual science where people have explored these things. And so when it comes to the impact of casting a vision, research shows there are some really clear benefits. I'll highlight a few of them here. For those who are listening, you can check out more in our show notes and description. When a leader clearly articulates a vision, it boosts success by 1, improving alignment and cohesion. Number 2, raising performance and productivity. Number 3, enhancing creativity and innovation. And 4, increasing organizational commitment. A lot of our listeners may know Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. In that book, he and his team found that a well-communicated vision aligns teams around shared goals, reducing friction and leading to better decision-making and focus. In a study of entrepreneurs and CEOs, Robert Baum and his colleagues discovered that a clear vision helps guide employees towards specific objectives, increasing performance and productivity. Jeroen de Jong and Deanne Den Hartog found that when leaders communicate a strong vision, it sparks more creativity and innovation in their teams. And lastly, Young and Avolio's research show that a clear vision strengthens organizational commitment. When people believe in the vision, they're more loyal and turnover decreases. Big issue that we're having across the nation in all sorts of domains. So being able to cast vision has real life consequences now in our society. Okay, President Oldham, we've covered what casting a vision and getting buy-in look like. For our listeners, what are the practical points that you have for how to do this well?
I think to start with is to make sure it's a good idea that's fully baked. You don't want to jump the gun, be premature. Basically, do your homework, run all the traps yourself. Make sure that you feel good about the idea. Can you think through all of the issues or concerns that could be raised? Because there will be some. Anytime you've got a vision for something different, something new, it's going to be subject to criticism and question. And so you want to be prepared for all those things, and hopefully have answers to most of them. You won't foresee everything, but try to make sure it's a good idea that's got some real merit, and then give people time to sort of digest it. Something I learned early in my career as a department head. Actually, I was pretty young at the time, and I discovered the hard way that if I brought up a new idea in a faculty meeting in the department, most of the time it would get shot down pretty unceremonially, and it was very disheartening. And so what I sort of learned to do was I would take about an hour of my day most days, and I just walk around the building, stop by a colleague's office, sit down for a few minutes and chat. And I just say, hey, I've got this idea I'm thinking about. What do you think? We'd have some conversation back and forth, and it gave them time to think about it. Let me put it that way. And they would often actually come back and make some suggestions that would make it even a better idea, quite honestly. And so if I did that enough, by the time the issue would come up in a faculty meeting, what was interesting, I found out it wasn't my idea anymore. As we talked about before, it was theirs.
Yeah.
And it was actually better than what I'd originally put forward. And so we would have a very constructive meeting, a very constructive conversation, and a clear path forward of what the department wanted to do. I think that process in general, I mean, it varies a little bit depending on the complexity of the organization. I mean, obviously, if now a university of 1,200 employees, I can't go sit in everybody's office for an hour a day. But I think the principles are still the same. Is you've got to give people time to sort of digest it, flip it around, upside down, kind of like looking at a new car. You got to try it out a little bit to see if you like it or not. And so I think giving that some time to sink in helps a lot. And then you can sort of come back and gauge the level of integration or acceptance that you're seeing, and so I think sort of measuring the development of the idea within the organization's psychology is a really important component in making that a reality. And at some point, you may say, "Hey, okay, we're just not ready for that yet," and that actually happens quite a bit, and it's okay. It's absolutely okay. That's not, as we said, that's not a failure. That's just a recognition that, hey, there are other things that are more timely and more important to focus on right now.
Yeah, that's good. You've hit on a number of things as I've thought about this, our conversation coming up, to today. I've been trying to think of a process for folks who are looking to cast a vision and so on. And so I kind of identified an 8-step process, and you hit on a number of them for creating a vision, getting buy-in. And it shares some similarities with John Cotter's change process that a lot of folks are aware of. But the first step in creating a vision is to define what the purpose and values are of the organization, because to be effective, the vision has to really align with those. And then next is involve key stakeholders who can take personal ownership in the vision and its success. And you just hit on that. Absolutely. You circulated the idea to other people so that they could get it in their mind, it could germinate, and they start taking some ownership in that. Write the vision into a clear, concise, and inspiring statement that is aspirational yet attainable. We kind of hit on that earlier with whether or not the moonshot was attainable at the time that was spoken.
Right.
Still, I guess, in debate. Once you've done that, communicate it to the target audience, and then, follow that by clearly showing how the vision aligns with the existing goals of the organization, so that you're not totally taking a different trajectory and the aspirations of everybody on the team. And then empower and engage people to take ownership of the key parts of the vision. And then as the leader, sustain the vision by modeling behaviors that align with it and demonstrate your commitment. And the last step that I saw was, as the environment changes, and you hit on this perfectly, adapt and refine the vision to keep it relevant.
Yep.
You may find a bunch of improvements or changes or things that take your vision maybe in an upward trajectory that you never even imagined. So,
yeah, it can go both ways. The idea can get watered down at times, or
Sure.
sort of twisted in a direction that's not as productive if you're not careful, for the wrong reason sometimes.